Let's get right into it. What if I told you that the biggest health mysteries inside your body, the allergies, the weird quirks, even how you fight off the common cold, can all be traced back to pandemics that wiped out your ancient ancestors? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on how history's deadliest plagues left fingerprints in your DNA, and why the battle between humans and microbes never really ended. Spoiler: you're a living relic of those ancient wars. Number 7. Black Death, the genetic aftershock. Imagine living in Europe in the 1300s. The Black Death barrels through town, and 1 out of every 3 people you know is gone within weeks. It's easy to think that kind of tragedy is a closed chapter, but the story isn't over. The real plot twist? The plague's impact didn't just end with the last body cart. It rewrote the story inside your cells. Researchers have discovered that some of the genes protecting people from infection today actually come from the survivors of the Black Death. People who survived had subtle differences in their immune systems. Over generations, their descendants, maybe even you, carried forward genes that helped keep those ancient horrors at bay. In particular, gene variants tied to immune response, like HLA genes, are more common in populations that lived through plague zones. These genes can make you more resistant to certain bacteria, but, interestingly, sometimes a little more vulnerable to autoimmune issues. So, next time you sneeze or shake off a fever, just remember your immune system is flexing skills that date back to the time of knights and castles. Number 6. The Antonine Plague, Rome's genetic reckoning. Travel back to the Roman Empire, nearly 2,000 years ago. The Antonine Plague, most likely smallpox, arrives with returning soldiers, and the empire is plunged into chaos. Armies fall apart, cities empty, and historians estimate that as many as 5 million people die in just a few years. The empire never truly recovers, but the story doesn't end there. What's wild is that this ancient pandemic may have altered human immunity in ways we're still uncovering today. When a pathogen like smallpox sweeps through a population, the people who survive often carry mutations that give their immune systems an edge. Over time, these mutations become more common in descendants. Geneticists now believe the Antonine Plague acted like a brutal filter, fast-tracking the rise of immunity genes in certain parts of the world. Some of those genes make it easier for modern descendants to fend off similar viruses or bacteria. Others might explain why some people respond to vaccines or illnesses differently than others. There's even evidence that the aftermath of this and other ancient plagues set the stage for later pandemics, shaping not just European populations, but influencing the entire genetic landscape across continents. All this from a single devastating pandemic, proof that the trauma of the past echoes through the double helix of your DNA. If you're ever frustrated by how your body handles illness, consider that you're the latest chapter in a very long story of survival. Number 5. Local outbreaks, local genes. You've probably wondered why some folks breeze through flu season while others are always down for the count. Here's a not-so-obvious culprit: geography. Thousands of years of plagues and outbreaks hit regions at different times and in different ways, forcing populations to adapt at the genetic level. For example, populations in West Africa developed the sickle cell trait, which protects against malaria. In Northern Europe, other gene variants cropped up, ones that made people more resilient against local threats like smallpox or tuberculosis. That means your immune responses today, from how you react to viruses to how you handle vaccines, might be directly shaped by the diseases your ancestors survived. It's not just about luck, it's about evolutionary strategy. Where your family tree put down roots can still dictate how your body responds to new threats. So next time you fill out a family history form at the doctor's office, give your ancestors some credit. They set the stage for your immune system's strengths and weaknesses. Number 4. The CCR5, the 32 mutation, a plague's hidden gift. Let's talk about one of the strangest gifts your ancestors may have left you, a tiny tweak in your DNA that can make you immune to HIV. It's called the CCR5, the 32 mutation, and its story is straight out of a sci-fi thriller. First discovered in the late 20th century, this gene variant stops certain viruses, including HIV, from entering your white blood cells. Here's where it gets wild. The mutation is most common in people of Northern European descent, and genetic detectives have traced its origin to about 1,000 years ago. Right around the time Europe was slammed by wave after wave of plagues, think smallpox and bubonic plague. Some researchers believe these brutal pandemics acted as a crash course in genetic engineering, favoring people who just happened to carry the CCR5 32 mutation. Survivors passed the gene to their children, and over generations, it quietly spread through the population. Fast forward to today, and a lucky few inherit a natural shield against HIV not because of anything they did, but because their ancestors made it through the world's worst pandemics. But there's a trade-off. Genetic changes that save you in one era can cause trouble in another. The same mutations can sometimes make you more likely to have immune overreactions, think allergies, or even autoimmune diseases. So, if you ever wondered whether you're carrying hidden superpowers or secret liabilities, just remember that your DNA is full of ancient stories. The next time you learn about a weird genetic trait in your family, consider that it might be a badge of survival from a forgotten battle with disease. Number 3. Survival of the resilient. When a pandemic rips through a population, evolution hits fast forward. The survivors aren't just lucky, they're often carrying genes that give them an edge. In just a few generations, these winning genes can become widespread, fundamentally changing the future for millions of descendants. Take the example of the 1918 flu pandemic. Studies show that survivors pass down certain immune system genes that help them recover faster, and those same genes are found in higher frequencies among their descendants. It's nature's way of ensuring that the species can weather future storms, even as the threats change. So, while pandemics are brutal in the moment, they're also a driving force behind our species' genetic evolution. Every new outbreak is like a stress test for humanity's code. If you're looking for a silver lining in the history of disease, remember that you're walking proof of how resilience gets written into the next generation. Number 2. Smallpox, a double-edged sword in your DNA? For centuries, smallpox was the most terrifying disease on the planet. It killed millions, scarred the survivors, and even toppled empires. But its impact didn't end when the virus disappeared. It's still influencing your body today in ways that are equal parts blessing and curse. Here's how. As smallpox raged through generation after generation, people with naturally strong immune responses survived and reproduced. That's how resistance genes spread. But the story has a twist. The same genetic traits that helped your ancestors fight off smallpox can sometimes make your immune system a little overzealous. In modern times, scientists have noticed a rise in allergies and autoimmune conditions, especially in populations hit hardest by historic plagues. It's as if your immune system is so well trained to fight that it occasionally attacks things that aren't actually dangerous, like pollen, peanuts, or your own cells. This evolutionary trade-off is called antagonistic pleiotropy. Basically, the survival superpowers from plagues came bundled with a few side effects that didn't matter much when everyone was fighting for their lives, but now, in a world with antibiotics and vaccines, those quirks stand out. It's a wild reminder that every advantage in evolution comes with a price, and sometimes, your body's weirdest behaviors are just old survival tricks playing out in a new era. Next time you're annoyed by your seasonal allergies or a weird health quirk, try thinking of it as a badge of honor from ancestors who survived the world's deadliest diseases. Number 1. Modern plagues. The story continues. It's tempting to think plagues are just history, something from textbooks and dusty ruins, but your DNA is still a work in progress. The 1918 flu, HIV, and even COVID-19 have already started to leave marks on human genetics. Take COVID. Researchers are beginning to track changes in gene frequencies related to immune function in regions hardest hit by the pandemic. We won't see the full impact for generations, but the process is happening in real time. The same story played out after the 1918 flu, with survivors passing down genes linked to better responses to respiratory illnesses. Today, scientists are also discovering that some populations are more vulnerable to new viruses because their ancestors weren't exposed to similar threats. What does that mean for you? That your DNA is still changing, adapting, and evolving as humanity faces each new challenge. The battle between us and the microbes never really ends, it just takes new shapes. So, if you've ever wondered how you fit into the grand scheme of things, remember that you're not just shaped by your family, your culture, or your choices, you're also the product of ancient battles fought by people you'll never meet. If you found this wild journey through time and biology as fascinating as I did, make sure to subscribe for more stories that connect the dots between your life and the world's weirdest history. Humanity's fight for survival is the ultimate origin story, and you're living proof that evolution never takes a day off. The next time you sneeze, scratch an itch, or recover from a bug, remember your DNA is a living museum of everything your ancestors survived. Stay curious, keep exploring, and appreciate the tiny victories written into your code.